Good morning, everybody. If you were here a few minutes ago, you heard me say that, well, my name is Melinda Elliott. I'm the presenter today. You heard me say that I am going to get off camera. I'm anxious with my internet to make sure that you can see the PowerPoint and hear my voice, and it seems like my internet works better if I am off camera, but I wanted you to see me so when you see me out places, you recognize me, and hopefully I'll recognize you, right? I also wanted to thank Wallace Johnson. He is the other Families Helping Families staff that is on, really, he's the mastermind behind making all of this work and making it work smoothly. So I wanted to thank him on the front end. But I want to welcome you to the training on Louisiana's Bullying Prevention Law. This law applies to all public school students, regular education and special education. There are some significant implications that need to be considered when a student with a disability is involved. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Can you drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am, Melinda, we can hear you. Are you fixing to do your Lacan slide?
After this.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because it sounded like you were doing something else. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just following my order. We good. I will get it. So to ensure this training is helpful and relevant to you, we're going to be doing a couple of interactive activities, and there's an evaluation at the end. The evaluation results help us continuously improve training. It shouldn't take you but 2 minutes at the most. Everyone completing an evaluation will get a copy of the PowerPoint, my many handouts that go with this PowerPoint, a list of website resources. If you lose audio or video, you can call in using the phone number included in your registration confirmation. My experience is if you wait a couple of minutes, your Zoom will link back up, but in all cases, if it doesn't, you can go back and use that phone number. Participants are encouraged to submit questions in the chat box, right? I like questions. I like tending to what you need as you need it. You'll also have a little bit of question and answer time at the end if you save your questions and answers to then. Like I said, I'm Melinda Elliott. I'm the presenter for the training, Louisiana Bullying Prevention Law. A little bit of information about Families Helping Families. Families Helping Families of Southwest Louisiana is one of 10 nonprofit family resource centers in the Families Helping Families network of centers. We're here to provide support to parents of children, youth, and adults with disabilities or special health care needs. We do this through individual assistance, information sharing, outreach, and trainings. Families Helping Families of Southwest Louisiana provides dozens of webinars and in-person trainings on special education and disability-related topics. We invite you to check out our website and our Facebook page for our events. Our website is www.FHFSWLA.org. Check them regularly and register for any upcoming training that might be of interest to you. You can request specific trainings that currently aren't being offered. You can do that on your evaluations. If you're interested in a topic, chances are someone else is interested too. As Wallace mentioned, one of my other duties, I actually enjoy it. I shouldn't say duties. One of my other responsibilities at Families Helping Families is the Lacan team leader for Region 5. We're in LDH Region 5. That is Beauregard, Allen, Calcasieu, Jeff Davis, and Cameron parishes, just like the Families Helping Families Center. LACAN stands for the Louisiana Council's Advocacy Network. We're a group of moms and dads, people with disabilities, people that care about people with disabilities, professionals that are interested in making positive systems change for people with disabilities, particularly in home and community-based services for people with developmental disabilities, but in education as well. Education's a little bit tricky, but still, we work on legislative advocacy. We work on making changes through the legislature. So we advocate for policies and systems that help people live, work, play, go to school, do everything that you and I do in their homes and their communities. A lot of times it's something that isn't working quite right. So when I started this 25, 30 years ago, the only way you got a waiver slot is if you moved out of state or someone died. Well, that was upsetting. So for years, I, with 10 other people in the state, well, there's really only 9 of us because New Orleans is covered by the same person. But I, with other people in the state, worked on getting more money into the system so there was more waiver slots. We're at the point now that if you need a waiver slot and you can anticipate it and justify it within the next 3 months to a year, you can apply for and get a waiver slot. For many, many years, you had to wait your turn. But people that desperately needed help were having to wait a really long time. At this point, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, state funds and federal match that go into waiver services. We don't, at this point, have to advocate for more money in that system. We advocate for things that make that system work better. So one of the things that we're currently going to be advocating for, and y'all listen up, if this is important to you, you might want to talk to me about telling your story, is if you're on the Flexible Family Fund waiting list, we would like to request enough money in 2024 to be able to eliminate that waiting list. We're also working on a percentage raise for direct support workers. The last time we got a raise, it was, I think the workers ended up getting $1.75 because it was a lump sum. Don't quote me exactly on that number. This time we're working on a percentage raise every year, and it might take us several years to accomplish this, but we're still working on it. And then, you know, the price of everything has gone up. Rent, utilities, supplies, the ability to do these free webinars. So the Families Helping Families 3 years ago advocated and got the legislature to allocate $500,000 between the 9 centers, between 9 of the 10 centers, Families Helping Family Centers, because of the, you know, changing world. We've had to go back, excuse me, every year for 3 years. For last year and this year, we're working on getting it permanently added to the budget so we don't have to go back every year. So that's our 3 legislative agenda items. If you're interested, sometimes we have items about education. We've worked on the April Dunn Act. We've worked on a policy around restraints and seclusions. We've worked on cameras in the classroom. So it has to be something that isn't already included in state law, like bullying prevention, or federal law. So that's the tricky part. But we work on education issues for all students with disabilities. If you're interested, you go to the website that Wallace dropped in the chat, or there will be a hot link when you get this PowerPoint at the end of this slide. You're registering for our emails. You're going to learn so much about the disability system just reading those emails. Of course, I want you to help educate our legislators. They don't want to hear from me. They've seen me for too many years. They want to talk to their constituents, and I don't blame them. They want to be able to say, I have somebody at home who XYZ. So I'm going to hope that you make calls or write emails. There's some of you that are going to, these issues are going to be, one of them or all of them are going to be important to you, and you would like to tell your story. I will help you craft your story and write it down. Because if you're like me and I'm trying to tell my story, I might forget my own name. So I'm not going to leave you hanging out there. I'm going to help you make an impactful story, about 3 minutes. There's lots of opportunities to use your story. We're waiting for fact sheets so we can launch our individual legislator meetings. We also do a legislative roundtable January, February-ish that's quite often well attended in the area. And surprisingly, lots of people from Southwest Louisiana will travel to Baton Rouge and testify in front of a legislative committee. It's not a requirement. It's just different opportunities to be able to tell your story. I mean, who knows? You might bump into your legislator at the local resource fair, and you have 2 minutes to tell him your story. You'll have it ready. But please consider signing up. So that's my 5-minute commercial. Let me check the chat box. Yep, Wallace is hooking y'all up in chat. And yes, it is free to join. So let's get into the meat of today's presentation. Well, I want to do an icebreaker. In the chat, let me know, what's your favorite snack? So lately, my favorite snack is these, I think it's called, the brand is Lance crackers with peanut butter in them. They're in these little packages with 4 to 6 crackers on them, in them. But let me know in the chat. There's a bunch of us here now. What's your favorite snack? Don't be shy. Yeah, don't tell me that y'all don't eat snacks, right? Let me see. One person is saying peanut butter cookies. Another one is saying Keebler pecan shortbread cookies. Fudge rounds. Yeah, I have a liking for fudge. Chocolate, period. Oreo cookies. Cream cheese spread with almond crackers. Yum, that sounds good. Okay, well, good job. Let's go on. After this training on the Louisiana Bullying Prevention Law, I'm hoping you're going to have an improved understanding of the frequently used acronyms, the history of bullying prevention guidance, and the legislation for students with disabilities. I also am hoping you're going to recognize what is an innocent bullying and a few bullying statistics. I hope you'll be more knowledgeable about Louisiana Act 861. That's the Louisiana bullying legislation and the guidance that goes with it provided by the Louisiana Department of Education. Finally, I hope to increase your awareness of some bullying prevention things you can do with your child, and if your child has an IEP, how the IEP team should be used in bullying prevention. The following acronyms are going to be used frequently in this presentation. I'm going to try to always use the full term, but I might use the acronyms from time to time. OSERS, is the Office for Special Education and Rehabilitative Services. It's located within the Louisiana Department of Education. IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That's the federal special education law that guarantees FAPE, the free appropriate public education, to all qualifying students with a disability. FAPE is the free appropriate public education, and it's the cornerstone of IDEA. IEP is the individualized education program. That's an agreement between the parent and school that they make on how to educate a child with a disability. OCR is the Office of Civil Rights. That's also in the Department of Education. OCR is charged with investigating complaints related to discrimination. LDE is the Louisiana Department of Education. That's the top educational entity for our state. So let's look at some historical information that's going to help you understand where we are today. In October 26th of 2010, the United States Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, OCR, issued a Dear Colleague letter providing guidance to state departments of education and local school districts on steps to reduce bullying in school. The statutes state that OCR enforces the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Title VI prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, you hear it referred to as Section 504 only a lot of times, and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Education Act of 1990 are also important laws that prohibit the discrimination on the basis of disability. School districts might violate these civil rights statutes and the department's implementing regulations when peer harassment based on race, color, national origin, sex, or disability is sufficiently severe enough that it creates a hostile environment. And such harassment is encouraged, tolerated, not adequately addressed, or ignored by school employees. School personnel who understand their legal obligations to address harassment under these laws are in the best position to prevent it from occurring and to respond appropriately when it does. Notice, school personnel who understand their legal obligations. So, in the regular 2012 legislative session, Act 861 was passed. Act, whatever number, is what we call our laws. And it requires the Louisiana Department of Education, in collaboration with BESSE. BESSE is the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. That's sort of like the school board for the Louisiana Department of Education. But anyway, it requires the Louisiana Department of Education, in collaboration with BESSE, to develop procedures and regulations with regard to the proper reporting and investigation of an incident of bullying. Those procedures include, but are not limited to, the adoption of BESSE-approved forms for reporting and investigating incidences of alleged bullying, proper parental notification, and mandatory orientation provided to faculty, staff, students, and parents. It also provides parents, legal guardians, the right to appeal when a timely and effective investigation hasn't been conducted. The next year, on August 20th, 2013, the United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services, OSERS, issued a guidance letter to states about school district responsibilities under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, to address bullying of students with disabilities. The letter stated in part, bullying of a student with a disability that results in the student not receiving meaningful educational benefit constitutes a denial of a free appropriate education, FAPE. Under the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that must be remedied. However, even when the situation doesn't rise to a level that constitutes a denial of FAPE, bullying can undermine a student's ability to achieve his full academic potential. Finally, in 2014, OCR issued a final Dear Colleague letter reaffirming the previous guidance and pointing out that they are receiving an ever-increasing number of complaints regarding bullying of students with disabilities and the effects of that bullying on their education. Bullying doesn't have any boundaries. It occurs in elementary, middle, and high school campuses and communities. There's no single profile of a child involved in bullying. They can be well connected socially or marginalized. Children of all socioeconomic, that's a good word to say. Children of all socioeconomic classes, genders, and races are bullied. According to the OSER's letter, a child with a disability is disproportionately bullied more than a child without a disability. Bullying affects all youth, including those who are bullied, those who bully others, and those who witness the bullying. So let's talk about what bullying is and isn't. Bullying is an intentional behavior that hurts, harms, or humiliates a student. It can be physically or emotionally, and it can happen at school, while in the community, or online these days. Those bullying often have more social or physical power, while those targeted have difficulty stopping the behavior. The behavior is typically repeated, and students often describe bullying as when someone makes you feel less about who you are as a person. Bullying is a lot different from someone just being mean. Someone just being mean may call you a name or push you, but it's more isolated and not repeated. Additionally, being rude or arguing with someone isn't bullying. Data sources from the Indicators of School Crime and Safety, the National Center for Education Statistics, and the Bureau of Justice 2019 report bullying is still a problem on school campuses. The report provided the following statistics. 20% of students ages 12 to 18 experience bullying nationwide. Students ages 12 to 18 who reported being bullied said they thought those who bullied them had the ability to influence other students' perception of them. That was 56%. Is the percentages on here? Okay, I don't need to say that. Had more social influence, were physically stronger or larger, and had more money. Nationwide, 19% of students in ages 12 to 18 report being bullied on school property in the past 12 months prior to the report. The following percentage of students had experienced bullying in various places at school. The hallway or the stairwell, 43%. The classroom, 42%. I find that surprising. The cafeteria, 26%. Outside on school grounds, 21%. By online or text, 15%. The bathroom or the locker room, 12%. Somewhere else in the school building, 2%. Among students ages 12 to 18 who reported being bullied at school during the school year, 15% were bullied online or by text. 21% of tweens between the ages of 9 and 12 have been cyberbullied. I just find that shocking. But anyway, Students between the ages 12 to 18 reported experiencing various types of bullying, including 13% were the subject of rumors or lies, 13% were made fun of, called names, or insulted, 5% were pushed, shoved, tripped, or spit on, 5 were left out or excluded on purpose, 4% were threatened with harm, 2% reported others tried to make them do things they didn't want to do, and 2% reported their property was destroyed on purpose. So let's look at what's being reported in various reports and studies in regards to students with disabilities being bullied. Students with specific learning disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, emotional and behavior disorder, other impairments, and speech or language impairments report greater rates of victimization than their peers without disability. Longitudinally, and their victimization remains consistent over time. And do I have the, yeah, I have the annotation of where I got it from, what study we got it from. Researchers discovered that students with disabilities were more worried about school safety and being injured or harassed by other peers compared to students without a disability. When reporting bullying, youth in special education were told not to tattle, almost twice as often as youth not in special education. So, a lot of research has been done with children 12 and older, but I bet you we can say that children don't just start bullying or become bullied at the age of 12. I want you to think about this, how the statistics might look like for younger children. Was your child bullied at a younger age? Have you witnessed younger children being bullied? Y'all, let me know in the chat. So one person says yes. I assume that that means that they've been bullied or witnessed other kids being bullied. So the rest of y'all don't have any experience with bullying. I do. My children were bullied. That's another person says no. My child has been bullied. Yeah, my children were bullied. They're adults now, but yeah. Even back then, considering the youngest one is 28. Yeah, they were bullied. I can't remember how young it started, but yep, more people are chiming in saying that their child was bullied. So let's go on. To address bullying concerns in Louisiana, Act 861 of 2012 was passed by the Louisiana legislators, authorizing the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, BESE, in collaboration with the State Department of Education, to develop and adopt rules and regulations on bullying prevention. The procedures and processes used must include a minimum. 1, they have to adopt a student code of conduct that talks about bullying. 2, they have to incorporate in the code of conduct a policy prohibiting bullying. 3, they have to define bullying. 4, they have to develop and adopt procedures and processes for reporting and investigating bullying. And 5, they have to define parent responsibilities. So let's look at how the Louisiana Department of Education and the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education address those requirements. Let's start with bullying, what bullying is. The Louisiana Department of Education used the same definition for bullying that's included in Act 861. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to read from the law. Act 861 defines bullying as 1, a pattern of any one or more of the following. A, gestures, including but not limited to obscene gestures and making faces. B, written, electronic, or verbal communications, including but not limited to calling names, threatening, harm, taunting, malicious teasing, or spreading untrue rumors. C, physical acts, including but not limited to hitting, kicking, pushing, tripping, choking, damaging personal property, or unauthorized use of personal property. D, repeatedly and purposefully shunning or excluding from activities. 2A, where the pattern of behavior as provided in paragraph 1 of this subsection is exhibited towards a student more than once by another student or group of students occurs or is received by a student while on school property, at a school-sponsored or school-related function or activity, in a school bus or van, and at any school bus stop, and any other school or private vehicle used to transport students from schools or any school-sponsored activity. The pattern of behavior in paragraph 1 must have the effect of physically harming a student, placing them in reasonable fear of physical harm, damaging their property, placing the student in reasonable fear of damage to their property, or must be sufficiently severe, persistent, and pervasive enough to either create an intimidating or threatening educational environment, having the effect of substantially interfering with the student's performance in school, or the effect of substantially disrupting the orderly operation of the school. Now, I didn't read every bit of that. If you want a copy of that, let me know, and I can copy and paste it in an email to you. So, let's talk about the school district must review the student code of conduct and amend it as may be necessary to ensure the policy prohibits bullying to include the definition, specifically address the behaviors constituting bullying, the effect the behavior has on others, including bystanders, the disciplinary and criminal consequences of bullying. Each student must provide notice to the students and parents of the policy preventing bullying of a student by another student, including the definition of bullying. The policy must be included in the student code of conduct. Did anybody get notice other than getting a copy of the student code of conduct? Tell me in the chat. Each school district must inform students orally and in writing at the orientation required under revised statute of the prohibition against bullying, the nature and consequences of such action, including criminal consequences and the loss of the driver's license. That's an interesting point. The proper process and procedure for reporting any incidents. A written copy of the notice also must be delivered to each student's parent, legal guardian. Did y'all get that? Where's that chat? Nope, nobody's answering. I haven't seen one. So the schools have to establish how an act of bullying can be reported. The Louisiana Department of Education requires the principal or designee of each school in the school district has to establish and prominently publicize to students, staff, volunteers, and parents or legal guardians how a report of bullying may be filed, and this report will be acted upon. Do any of y'all ever get that? One of the people says no, they haven't. As a matter of fact, I believe the form is something that I'm sure The form is something in the handouts that we're going to send you after the webinar. Most of the time when I bump into a parent that's telling me about bullying and I let them know there's a form, they're shocked to find out. Anyway, how the report of bullying may be filed, how this report will be acted upon. The form developed by the Louisiana Department of Education must be accepted as a report of bullying. The form may also be used to record a verbal report. All reports shall remain confidential. The principal and designee is responsible for receiving complaints, including alleging violations of bullying policy. Let's see what's in the chat. It might be in the student handbook. Yes, there is some of this information in the student handbook. No, I've never seen a copy of the form in the student handbook. Now, I do have to admit, I have not looked at it this year. It just seems like that would be important, for them to share, and they're saying the law is saying that the Louisiana Department of Education and the school systems are supposed to share it. So, all school employees and parents chaperoning or supervising school-sponsored functions and events are required to report alleged violations of the policy to the principal or the principal's designee. A verbal report must be reported on the same day as the employee or parents witnessed or otherwise learned of the incident, and a written report must be filed no later than 2 days. Very specific timeline. The victim of bullying, anyone who witnessed the bullying, and anyone who has credible information that an act of bullying has taken place may file a report of bullying. Retaliation against any person who reports bullying in good faith, who is thought to have reported bullying, who files a complaint, who otherwise participates in an investigation or inquiry concerning an allegation of bullying is prohibited conduct and subject to disciplinary measures. But intentionally making false reports about bullying to school officials is prohibited and also can result in appropriate disciplinary measures. That investigation is an important part of the process. There's some guidelines school districts should be using to investigate an act of bullying. The principal or the designee must initiate the investigation the next business day during which school is in session after the report is received by a school official. The investigation can last no longer than 10 school days. It should be completed and the written report submitted. There's supposed to be a written report. The investigation should include an interview of the reporter, the victim, the alleged bully, and any witnesses, including copies or photographs of any kind of audiovisual evidence. The principal must notify the parent or legal guardian of a student under the age of 18 of the allegation of bullying before the student can be interviewed and inform them of the right to attend the interview with the student. Y'all call me if that happens. I am continually confronted by children that are being interviewed and even asked to write their statement down before their parent is called. Anyway, documented interviews of the victim, alleged offender, and witnesses must be conducted privately, separately, and confidentially. And no time will the alleged offender and victim will be interviewed together. Again, take note, some adults seem to think that it's a good idea to have the offender and the victim together in the same room at the same time. It's not, and it's not allowed. I'm telling you these things so you'll know them going into any situation. You'll be knowledgeable going into any situation and can point out when proper procedure wasn't followed. So the investigator is going to collect and evaluate the facts using the form developed by the Louisiana Department of Education. The principal or designee, in accordance with Act 861 of 2012, can file a complaint with the Court of Juvenile Jurisdiction pursuant to the Children's Code Article 730 parentheses 8 and 731 parentheses 1, or the Children's Code Article 730 parentheses 1. If y'all want this type of information, let me know. But they can file a complaint with the Court of Juvenile Jurisdiction if the parent or legal guardian refuses to attend a conference or meeting regarding the student's behavior. They really tried to put some teeth into this. The highest level of confidentiality possible must be upheld regarding the submission of a complaint or a report of bullying and the investigation that follows. Both the victim and the alleged offender's parents. So the victim's parents and the alleged offender's parents will meet with the school principal or designee. Meetings with the parents or legal guardians of the victim and meetings with the parents or legal guardians of the alleged offender must be separate. So not only should interviews of the victim and the offender or the alleged offender be separate, so should the meetings with the parents or legal guardians of the victim and alleged offender must be informed of all the available potential consequences, penalties, and counseling options at the initial meeting with school officials. Act 861 further says, in any case where a teacher, principal, or other school employee is authorized in this section to require the parent or legal guardian of a student who is under age of 18 and not judicially emancipated or emancipated by marriage to attend a conference or meeting regarding the student's behavior, and after notice, the parent, tutor, or legal guardian willfully refuses to attend, that principal or designee should file a complaint with a court exercising juvenile jurisdiction. The principal or the designee will promptly identify the parents or legal guardians of all students involved in any incident of bullying as defined by this policy. Notification of the parents, legal guardian of all students must be made on the same day an investigation of the incident has been initiated. Notification must be consistent with the student privacy rights under the applicable provisions of FERPA. FERPA stands for Family Education Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. Act 861 specifically states about parental notification. 1. Upon receiving a report of bullying, the school official shall notify the student's parent or legal guardian according to the definition of notice. Under no circumstances will the notice to the parent or legal guardian, which was required by this subsection, be the responsibility of the student. Delivery of the notice by an involved student should not constitute notice as required, because we know students don't always do what we expect them or tell them to do. Once the investigation is resolved, the following must occur. The principal or designee shall compose a written document containing the findings of the bullying investigation, including input from the students' parents, legal guardians, and the decision of the school or the school system official. The document is going to be placed in the record of both students. The principal or designee shall promptly notify the complainant of the finding of the investigation and remedial action taken if the release of information doesn't violate the law, if there was a discipline code violation, the school official should take prompt and appropriate disciplinary action and report conduct to law enforcement if appropriate. The school district may establish a procedure for referring a victim and perpetrator for counseling when bullying is suspected or a bullying incident is reported. That procedure shall include but not limited to counseling and support to address the needs of the victim, research-based counseling or interventions to address the behavior of students who bully or harass others, sort of like empathy training, anger management, social skills training, that sort of stuff. Research-based counseling interventions, which includes assistance and support for the parents or legal guardians if necessary or appropriate. If a school system fails to act, parents or legal guardians can appeal. A student, the parent, legal guardian, or school employee may report a bullying incident to the school district if the school official doesn't take a timely and effective action to address the incident. The school district or governing authority must begin an investigation of any complaint of bullying that's properly reported the next business day. If the school district doesn't take timely and effective action, the student, parent, or other school employee may report the bullying incident to the Louisiana Department of Education. Parents or legal guardians can and these are just some ideas of things that could happen. There's more, especially in the handouts that we're going to send you. Read them. But parents or legal guardians may request a transfer to another school if a parent, legal guardian, teacher, or other school official has made formal reports of separate instances of bullying and no investigation has occurred. The school district must make space available for the student at another public or secondary school under its jurisdiction within 10 days of the transfer request. If no other school that serves the bullied student's grade level is available within 15 days of the transfer request, the superintendent or head of the school district has to facilitate the student's enrollment in a statewide virtual school or offer the student placement in a full-time virtual program or school. The school district can enter into a memorandum of understanding with another school district to secure placement and transfer of the bullied student. If none of the options are made available to the student within 30 days after their transfer request is made, the parent or legal guardian can request a hearing with the school's governing authority. The hearing must be granted for the next scheduled meeting or within 60 calendar days, whichever is sooner. The parent or legal guardian can request at the end of the school year that the student be transferred back to the school in which the student was enrolled when at least three of the bullying incidents were made. The school district must make space available for the student at the school where the student was originally enrolled, but no other school qualifies for a transfer back. It has to be that one. Act 861 requires a program to provide a minimum of 4 hours of training for new employees who have contact with students and 2 hours of training each year for all school employees who have contact with students, including bus operators, with respect to bullying. There's some specific requirements about what should be included. The school of the Louisiana Department is also required to develop a behavior incident checklist to document the details of each report of bullying, and they are supposed to put the bullying form on the website. And last time I checked it, it was on the website. But if you want some of that more detailed information about what that training for the school staff is supposed to be like, let me know and I will send it to you. So we went over a pile of information about how schools must address bullying. Do you think that it addressed bullying adequately, or do you think there's anything missing? Y'all chat me up and let me know. Let me know if you think that this was enough. I mean, they tried to be, the legislature tried to be as comprehensive as they could figure out. Let's see. Yep. I think that it was pretty comprehensive. But if you think of something, let me know. So what do you need? What can you do? When you discover your child's being bullied, you might feel a variety of emotions. Let me go back and look at the chat. I think they really don't do everything they're supposed to do. Yeah, I tell parents, go back and ask them to see that training about bullying. Ask them when they did that 2-hour training about bullying. 2 hours, right? I've never seen a parent, shouldn't say never, but I can't remember ever seeing a parent offered training about bullying. And I wonder if the school bus personnel do the bullying training. They're supposed to, or like cafeteria workers. Anyhow, when your child's being bullied, you might feel a variety of emotions, from anger to fear to sadness. Those responses are natural for parents. You want your child to feel valued, protected, and loved. To become an effective advocate for your child, it's important to acknowledge your emotions and then focus on developing an action plan to help your child. When you first talk with your child about bullying, be prepared to listen without judgment and provide a safe, supportive place where your child can work out his or her feelings. They might not be open to right away, because they're dealing with emotional effects of bullying, and they might be insecure, frightened, vulnerable, angry, sad. When your child begins to tell their story, just listen and don't make judgmental comments. It's important to learn as much facts as possible about the situation, like how long it's been happening, who is involved, and what steps have been taken up until now. Encourage your child to talk and let them know they aren't alone and you're there to help. Then make sure your child knows that A, it's not their fault. They aren't to blame. B, they aren't alone. You're there to help. C, it's the adult's responsibility to make the bullying stop. D, bullying is never okay and they have the right to be safe. E, no one deserves to be bullied. F, they deserve to be treated with respect. And G, they have the right to feel safe at home. Hopefully I did those ABCs right. After hearing your child's story, help them create an action plan to help stop the bullying. Talk about ways you can help them as well as intervention strategies they can use, like working with the school or advocating on their own. Creating a plan that works with your child's strengths and abilities can help build their self-confidence and resilience. Then share those agreed upon strategies with people in your child's life, such as teachers, coaches, and other adults who interact with your child on a daily basis. So things to avoid. Don't tell your child to stand up to the bully. That can imply that it's your child's responsibility to handle the situation. While it sounds like there might be truth to that statement, being assertive is often a good response. Sending your child back into the situation without further information will probably cause more harm. A more effective response is to brainstorm options with your child about what you can do as a team to resolve the situation. Don't tell your child to ignore the bully. That's easier said than done. Your child has probably tried ignoring the situation, which is a typical thing for kids to do. If that method has been effective, there wouldn't be a need for your child to look for your help. It's difficult to ignore someone who's sitting behind you on the bus or next to you in class. In addition, if the student who is bullying realizes their target is purposefully ignoring them, it can actually ignite further bullying, since that response provides a sense of power and control that student seeks. You also might not want to tell them to take. You also might not want to take matters into your own hands. That's a normal gut response from a parent to fix the situation and remove their child from the harm. So, for example, a parent might call the parents of the student who is bullying or directly confront the bully. Remember, when a child is telling a parent about bullying, they're looking for the parent to guide them to a solution that makes them feel empowered. Involve them in the process of determining next steps. Typically, calling the other parent or directly confronting the bullying student is ineffective anyway. We spent this training on teaching your rights. So, refer back to this training if you need to, right? Think about who else should be involved. In addition to being supportive and empowering to your child, write down a plan. It can be helpful to document the steps you plan to take or have already implemented. Written records provide a history of incidences and responses, which can be helpful when addressing the issue with school administrators or law enforcement. And you should create a strategy for how to involve others that can help your child. That might include determining who you'll contact at the school, what you plan to ask them, and how you'll be involved. Other options include contacting a school counselor or health professionals for advice. If the situation doesn't change, your plan might include steps to contact local law enforcement or legal counsel. And then your child's action plan. The person who has been bullied should be involved in deciding how to respond to the bullying. That participation can provide your student with a sense of control over their situation and help identify someone who is willing to listen, take action on their behalf, and reassure them their opinions and ideas are important. So, the IEP can be a helpful tool in a bullying prevention plan. Remember, every child receiving special education is entitled to a free, appropriate public education. How many of y'all, if you care to let me know, have a child with an IEP? That free, appropriate education, let me know in the chat, is FAPE. And bullying can sometimes become an obstacle to receiving their education. The IEP team, which includes the parent, can identify strategies and write it on the IEP to help stop the bullying. It can be helpful to involve the child in that decision-making process. Some of those strategies might be identifying an adult in the school who the child can report to or go to for assistance, determining how school staff will document and report incidents, allowing a child to leave class early to avoid hallway incidents, holding separate in-services for school staff and classroom peers to help them understand a child's disability, maybe educating peers about school district policies on bullying, ensuring regular reassurance from the school staff that he or she has a right to be safe and bullying is not his or her fault. Another thing is shadowing by school staff of the student who's been bullied, like in hallways, maybe even in the classroom or the playground. When talking to your child's IEP team, to consider what strategies, the ones that I just talked about are only guidelines that might be effective for them to address bullying. Regardless of what's added to the IEP for bullying prevention, make sure that you add the information about your child being bullied to your parental concern section of the IEP. So it looks like only one of us have a child with an IEP. And some of this same stuff holds true for a 504 plan. I don't think I say it quite the same, but under 504, you're guaranteed FAPE. You're guaranteed free appropriate public education. So if you're guaranteed FAPE and a bullying interferes with your education, you're not getting your education, right? That's a complaint or a place to stand on a complaint and a reason to add some of these same things to a IAP or a 504 plan. So this is a list of the resources we mentioned in today's training. This will be a hot links when you get the PowerPoint. More information about bullying prevention resources and websites. Those are great resources for parents, teachers, and students. Like if you need ideas or if you need places to learn about bullying. This is the numerous resources we talked about in today's training. Links to those resources are going to be provided in the information after you do your evaluation. Again, more of them. And please do your evaluation. I'm sure Wallace will drop it into the chat. Thank you, Wallace. You'll also receive it in an email. The information from these evaluations help us improve our training. Everyone that's registered and completes the survey is going to get the PowerPoint, the handouts. We'll hook you up. So we've gone through some of the information about bullying prevention and the Louisiana Bullying Prevention Law. I hope you've learned some new things. There's all kinds of information in your handouts. If you have a question that hasn't been answered, you can chat me up now and I will talk about it. I'm going to hang out here for a few minutes while y'all listen to the train going by. I don't know if y'all can hear the train going by. I live about a block away from a railroad track. Okay, I live a block away from a railroad track. But if you don't get me now with questions, you can always call the office with questions. Wallace and I will both answer any questions you have. And I so appreciate y'all being here today. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you got some good information from the webinar. It's a complicated subject, and I feel like I talk too much, but yeah, good.